Hello and welcome everybody to another video of Online Scythe. This is Joy Division, and today I have something a little different for you all. I have a video on top 5 design flaws in competitive Scythe. Now, these flaws are present at all levels of play and affect key aspects of a good game, such as balance, fairness, um, overall enjoyment. So no matter what seat you're going to take at the table, you want to feel like you have a chance to win. And even if you were a casual player, you would not enjoy it if you realized that the person across from you was going to win and there was nothing you could do about it just because of the faction they chose. So these things are important. I think Scythe is a really well-made game, but it has a ton of depth and complexity, and it's ever evolving, right? The competitive meta has been pushed year after year to a place where it's unreasonable to expect these things could have been foreseen. However, some of them are easily addressable and could be large improvements for the competitive scene, which is something that I care about personally. Now, a little bit on me, if you're unaware. I've been playing since 2017, and I've helped run tournaments, I participated in tournaments, I've helped share knowledge and experience across the competitive community. So these aren't things I'm just saying because I feel like it. It's things that I've gained, knowledge that I've gained over countless hours of experience. So when I tell you something is better or worse than something else, I really mean it. It's not just, the way I feel. Okay, let's jump in. The first one is encounters. Encounters have a good design. Option 1 gains you something. Option 2, you pay a little bit to gain a moderate amount. And option 3, you typically pay popularity to get something pretty substantial. Now, they're very, very balanced across all of the option 1s. You're always going to have one popularity and then, a variety of other things that you're going to gain from option 1. So they have a great starting point. Unfortunately, as you go down the line, some of the third options are so good that it becomes unfair when players draw those. Because when you pick up an encounter, right, it's a 1 in 36 chance, you're going to get one of these 36 cards, and if you draw the top 5, you're at a huge competitive advantage compared to your opponents. What are the top 5? We have this one, number 25, number 32, and number 33. And they all share the same bottom action, which looks like this. Pay 2 pop to gain an upgrade, and 2 resources. Now at first, this might not look better, that much better that is, than other bottom options. However, the more you look into it, the more you'll find it is just far and away the best option you can pick, because what you do is you get a bottom row action outright, and then you have everything you need to get a second one. So imagine you're playing the engineering map. It costs you 3 food to enlist. Even if you don't have any food at all, you can run into this encounter, upgrade your enlist cost down to 2, and take food. Now you have an upgrade and an enlist, and you were about to get nothing. You were about to have an empty turn, and you turned it into 2 bottom row actions. And this game is all about action compression at the highest level, and these cards do it better than any other. Rounding out the top 5, you have encounter number 15 and 13. These give you 5 of any resources you want, 5 of them, for 3 pop. So that's a huge advantage because popularity is just a resource that you spend. So often you're looking to use it, and this is the most efficient way to use it. Is having those resources, they turn into bottom row actions. They turn into more efficient lines of play, and they're just unmatched by other encounters. An honorable mention goes to all the cards that give you the middle option of 2 coin for 3 of any resource. This is a very good option no matter what you're doing, because you're going to find what you need. You can argue that 2 for 4 is better, but you don't always need the specific resource, so 2 for 3 of any will never be bad. Okay, so that wouldn't be terrible if the parity didn't exist between the best and the worst. So if you look at some of the worst cards out there, like they will feel useless when you pick them up. Usually these involve gaining large amounts of popularity or gaining combat cards and power. So you want to find bottom row actions. You typically do not find that with the worst cards. But moving on, we have objectives. Objectives are even more drastic between best and worst, and it's very simple to figure out which ones those are. You look at the ones with the least requirements. So control 3 tunnels, control 3 tundra, control 3 mountain. These are very easy to do, and they're very good. So getting an entire star just off of that is a huge advantage compared to something like have 3 or less of this, have 13 of this, have at least 2 of this. Like that, you have to have 3 different things, right? 3 clauses, and some of them aren't always good for you to do. So like talking about things that are competitive and not competitive, have 9 tokens, okay? Do you want to have tokens on the table? No, you don't. So doing this, not only do you have to have a lot of something, you have to have a lot of something that's not very efficient. Like you having extra tokens means you're not playing very optimally. So this is like directly against your best interests in competitive play. You often will avoid that completely. Whereas have 20 coins, like you always want to have coins. Coins are always good. So you might do this naturally just on your way to playing well. So it's tough to design a wide variety of good objectives, but I think it's very, very easy to see all objectives are not created equal. Like it's not fair, right? And you see your opponent get a star for doing this. Meanwhile, you're trying to figure out how you could possibly manage something like this or this, right? Like for a flavor standpoint, for a variety standpoint, love it, great things. From a competitive standpoint, we've got to eliminate some of the most absurd objectives, or at least guarantee that everyone draws one objective from a specific bucket. That could be an easy solve. Okay, number 3. We're looking at priority. Priority is something that's given to your player mat, and it was initially used as a way to balance the game. So if you look at the mats here, the priority number dictates the turn order. If you have the lowest priority, 1, you get to take the first turn, and from there, it'll go clockwise. So if you draw the agricultural mat, you will never, ever take the first turn. Why does that matter? First turn gives you turn advantage. Turn advantage is huge in this game. If you end in 14 turns, but you have turn advantage, that means every other player has only taken 13 turns. And I don't have to explain to you why that's such a big deal. Your score will be inflated compared to theirs. You've had an extra round of score, right? So it becomes very competitive to move early in the turn order. Unfortunately, they gave the 2 worst boards the worst priority. So agricultural happens to be the worst mat and have the worst priority. It's just a double whammy there. It gets even worse when you add IFA into the mix, because innovative and militant have very competitive turn order and happen to be exceptionally good mats too. So that was something that maybe couldn't have been predicted, but it's not a point of discussion anymore that the strongest boards happen to have the strongest turn order. Which, thank God bidding exists because we can compensate for that, but should we have to? That's another rabbit hole. Okay, moving on. Banned combos. At one point, it was warranted that these 2 combinations be banned. They had the highest win rate, and they had somewhat toxic levels of play available to them. So they were banned. Unfortunately, things progressed to the point where there are far stronger combinations running around unbanned, and it's no longer warranted that these combos, which aren't even the strongest ones in the game, be banned. So we can't actually play with these online, which is a problem because tournaments during a pandemic are run online, right? And this is something that's no longer needed, but we're unable to intervene because in the digital edition, ranked or not, these are unavailable to you, which is too bad because they would be fun to play. They would add a lot of dynamic to top level play. It's especially warranted now that they aren't even the best ones. So far more egregious than that, however, is IFA. Objectively, the worst factions by far are the IFA factions, Togawa and Albion. It's naive to think the lack of a river makes up for the lack of speed, but it is especially offensive to see their starting resources: 3 power and 0 cards, 0 power and 2 cards. Every other faction in the game adds up to a total of 5. Their starting resources sum to 5. It's fair. They have different combinations, but it all adds up to 5. So to have the worst factions by far also have fewer resources, what are we doing? Right? This is absurd, especially because they are so slow, so slow. Even without a river, you can move every other turn from turn 1 and still get beat to the factory because you're that slow. It's not like it ends there either. The resource starting values are so low that you have to go out of your way to compensate for those to have even a chance at winning. With Togawa, you're unable to produce with 4 more workers until you address this, until you figure out a way to get power. And for those of you that are thinking, well, just bolster, that's usually not a competitive option. Next, Albion has 0 cards, so you're unable to put yourself in a combat square until you fix that. And sometimes it's not in your best interest to enlist. Like, you'd rather not enlist, but you have to go out of your way to do it because otherwise your opponent has full knowledge of what you can play and will get a free combat start from you. So, from best to worst, or least offensive to most, those are the 5 design flaws with competitive Scythe. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's different, but either way, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.